Hi, this is Alex Rodriguez from Secure Ideas / Professionally Evil, and today we're going to be going over the second week of bash tricks with prompts, prompts, and prompts. Essentially, we're going to be talking about how to utilize bash prompts and why they're important. So we're going to go ahead and get into the code, navigate to weekly sessions, 01. And then, as you can see, we've got week 01, prompts, prompts, prompts. And then we've got kind of like a table of contents right here. So the prerequisites for this video is going to require you to follow the bash setup that we talked about last week. So if you want to follow the video, we've got a link here that you can just go watch that. And that'll walk you through the whole setup that we're going to be utilizing today. So be sure to watch that, and then if you have any comments or questions on it, go ahead and comment on the video. And then if you prefer written instructions, they're right here. So why are bash prompts or prompts in general important? Well, one, it's fun. I mean, if you're going to be in a terminal very often, it's good to be able to enjoy your experience utilizing the terminal. So that's one. Number two, it gives you more context whenever you're doing any type of screenshotting or anything like that, for whenever you're doing a pen test, or if you're trying to do something that requires you to give more context than just your current working directory. So an example for me is that my current prompt that we're going to get to in a little bit is, it has the date and a few other things. As you'll see, date and time is mainly what I'm referring to whenever I say more context for your documentation for the screenshots. The other thing is 3, it can also help improve your workflow. So another tool that we're not going to really talk about in this class, but is very useful, is Git. So you can actually craft your bash prompt to let you know whenever you're inside of a Git folder, and also whenever you have a specific branch checked out, it'll tell you which branch. I currently use ZSH, and it has a lot of this built into it, but bash can be adapted to do the same exact thing. And then before we get to the examples, I was just going to mention, I've listed some resources in here. Terminal.sexy is a website for being able to make your terminal prompt any type of color that you want to. You can manually change the colors here by choosing. They also have different pre-built schemas that you can just apply scheme to just kind of test out what it'll look like in your terminal. And then they also have different, they call it template browsers, but you can see what whenever you're using them in a default theme for any type of bash scripting, you can open up that template and view what your syntax coloring will be inside of an actual file that you'd be editing in Vim. So they've got a few different pre-built defaults that you can choose from. You can also choose randomize color, and it'll just randomize. And then once you get done, you can actually click the export button. Let's see if we can get a better color for you so you can see my screen a little bit better. There we go. So you can click the format, and you can export it in whatever format you want. So there's an XFCE terminal. There's also xresources, which is a specific configuration file that you can put in your home directory that certain terminals will read. An example of that would be RxVT. I use URXVT with color, so it's URXVT-256, and if you use that terminal, you can place this prompt in this file in your home folder, and it will colorize your terminal appropriately. So feel free to play around with that. I use this for my personal terminal whenever I configure it. So it's a very useful site. Another website is easyprompt.net. And this is actually to help craft your bash prompt. So the stereotypical bash prompt that you'll see is username at hostname, and then maybe you'll have like a space, and then you can do a user indicator, and then probably a colon with another space. So this is the stereotypical bash prompt. Maybe you'll have like a current directory in there as well. You can move these around to different locations, so that way it's very easy to kind of mess around with and try to see exactly what it would be like. And it gives you that visual representation of the preview right here. And then once you get everything figured out, you can just copy this and paste that inside your .bashrc file, which is another file that's in your home directory. Another nice thing too is that I like to add a little bit of color to it, since, like I had said, I enjoy being able to have a pleasant experience inside my terminal. So what you can actually do is you can select it and then select whatever you want to colorize, and then this FG or foreground, you can choose the color that you want to use. That doesn't work very well. Why don't we use yellow? There we go. So and it will add that colorization sequence in there for you as well. So it's a really useful site. I love this. This is how I generated my bash prompt, so it's very useful. And another resource that I used for being able to understand prompts and just bash in general is the bash cookbook. I put in a link to the website and then a reference to their code that they have. So they have code associated to each chapter. So as you can see, this is chapter 16 and it's talking about prompts. So these are all the different examples that they gave inside the book, and I would definitely recommend checking out the book as well if you have time. I'm pulling some of my resources for these video tutorials from that book. It's really practical and a really awesome book. So now let's go ahead and show you what my prompt looks like. This is the very long and complex string that I told you I generated with EasyPrompt. We'll take a look at that in a second. We're going to go ahead and hop over to our terminal. And let's go ahead and pull that up. So we've got our terminal right here, and as you can see, I've already pulled down since I've gone through week 1. I've pulled everything down, and all you have to do is Vagrant up. And for me, it's actually already started, so that way the video can move quickly. So we can do Vagrant SSH, and then we'll connect to the virtual machine. And then now, one of the ways that normally people can type clear to clear their screen, but there's a shortcut. If you hit Control L, it'll do the same thing. So I clear my screen with Control L. And to go ahead and show you the different aliases we have ready, do PE hyphen and then tab. We're going to do PE bash. So now we're inside the bash Docker container, and I'm going to go back and grab that line, and we're going to paste it in here, and that's the prompt that I normally use. So as you can see, it's got the date, the time, which currently this time is set for UTC, the user that we're connected as, it's got @ and then the host name of the machine, or in this instance container, that we're connected to, and then the current working directory. And I've got that space separated so that way it's easy for me to just do the double click like how I just did there. Even if it's very many folders deep, it keeps the spaces on either side, so I can just quickly copy that directory and paste it somewhere else if I need to. So, besides that, there was one other thing I was going to mention was the PS1, as you can see, is just normally this normal prompt. Another prompt that I thought was interesting while doing research for this was there's actually a PS0 that was introduced at Bash 4.4, and that will actually execute before your prompt loads the PS1. So it's essentially a pre-prompt execution. The book, Bash Cookbook, actually detailed out that you can use it to help with debugging and kind of format your screen with the specific time and date, so that way whenever you go to save your screen session or you go to view your prompt, it helps with your actual debugging. But from an attacker perspective, it's actually kind of really interesting because you can possibly be able to do keylogging or some other type of offensive attack against a user that would be connecting to a machine, and it would be getting executed beforehand, so the user most likely wouldn't even notice it whenever they would go to load their normal bash prompt. So kind of an interesting red team perspective as to how you can take and utilize something for bash prompts. Well, I think that's all for today. If you want to join us next time, feel free. And if you have any questions, please either make an issue in the GitHub repo or reach out to me on Twitter or comment on this YouTube video. And definitely feel free to write in if you have any suggestions for content as well. Alright, I think that's it. And this concludes PrOmPtS, Prompts, and Prompts. Have a good day. Take care.